Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and why I believe the next 2 months, 2 to 3 months, we'll see the price of this asset double probably. And it's going to be like a very profitable period for many investors. So, as you can see, recently we had a kind of a small bear market in this January where Bitcoin went from 42,000 till 28,000 for some moments, and other altcoins followed until mid of January, where we started to see a kind of a reversal of the trend, where Bitcoin stabilized and the altcoins started to pump. With the last 2 days seeing Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, and other smaller coins doing 2 to 3x sometimes, and if we go even the small market cap, we can see even 10x sometimes. But as we are approaching spring, I feel like we are exiting this kind of stagnating trend for Bitcoin, and we're entering in a new phase where you can see double of the price in the next 2 months. So Bitcoin will be again the main protagonist of the scene, and altcoin season will be kind of paused for the moment. So first of all, let's get to the chart. This is a Glassnode chart that represent the price of Bitcoin against the stock to flow model. So first of all, what is the stock to flow model? I think probably it's familiar to many of you, but just to put everything in perspective and to explain better what we are seeing here, the stock to flow model is a mathematical model that it's a ratio between the current value, the current amount of a particular commodity divided by the amount that was going to be produced in that year of that commodity. So it's very useful to use in a commodity that is like finite in value. And it allows it to calculate quite well the price of that commodity. Now, we know that Bitcoin is not really a commodity, it's a cryptocurrency, but if we consider it as a digital gold, then it becomes kind of a commodity, and it makes sense to apply the stock to flow model to this Bitcoin. Why we apply the stock to flow model and why is it so useful in Bitcoin? Is it because we have a kind of a finite supply of the whole thing, and we have also a fixed amount that can be produced every 4 years. What I'm talking about? I'm talking about the halving. So if you look at the chart, when we started in 2010, you could have minted every day 50 every 10 minutes 50 Bitcoin. So it means that every 10 minutes that a new block was released, you could have created 10 Bitcoin out of that. But since Bitcoin is a self-inflationary currency, there was a protocol established inside Bitcoin that every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that you could have created per block would have been halved. And so in 2013, 2012, sorry, we had the first halving, and the amount of Bitcoin that you could have produced went from 50 to 25 per 10 minutes. Then in 2016, we had again another halving, and we went from 25 to 12.5. And last year in May, we had the last currently halving, that brought the amount of Bitcoin that you could mint per 10 minutes from 12.5 to 6.25. This means that every day you can create only 900 Bitcoin. You cannot exceed this amount. And this halving will continue every 4 years at a constant time frame until 2146, when we're going to mint the last piece of Bitcoin, the last one, for a total supply of 21 million. So you see that we have a finite supply, we know exactly how much amount is available at every single time, and we know how much amount we can produce every single day or every single year. So that's why it makes sense to create a stock to flow model to follow this chart. And as you can see, the stock to flow model predicts that Bitcoin is kind of growing in price following a kind of a logarithmic pattern. From the inception until now, we are kind of halfway to the next top. On top of this stock to flow model, this kind of chart that we are seeing that is kind of zigzagged, we see the chart of Bitcoin in different colors. And to read this chart, we have to look at the legenda that says that red is the days until the halving, we are getting closer to the halving, and blue is the days that we are further away from the previous halving. So let's take, for example, the first top. So the first halving that we have in 2012, we are red. So basically there are 0 days left to the halving because we are currently at the halving. And it means that from the next halving there are 1,400 days left. That's why we're in the blue currently here. And then of course the chart keeps getting greener and greener, then yellowish, orange, and then we're getting close again to red because we're close again to the next halving. But if you look better, we can also see that the closer we get to the next halving, or actually at the beginning, the less we go away from the more we go away from the first halving, the more the prices increases until a point in which it reverses this trend, and the closer we get to the next halving, then the prices decreases. We had this in first cycle, in the second cycle, in the previous cycle was quite clear after the halving in July of 2016, the price skyrocketed for 1 year and a half until December 2017, and then we had this kind of bear market. And now we are currently in a phase in which we just, like, 7-8 months from the last halving. So we're kind of only 200 days from the last halving, and we are in a phase in which the price is still in a bull trend. So if you look at the color here, 6th of February, we're in kind of a dark green, and if we look previously in the previous cycles, we see that dark green, it stays kind of here in the middle of the stock to flow model. So if you look at the previous cycle, was really far away from the top. If you look at the previous cycle, we are also here really far away from this kind of double top. We don't have enough information about the first cycle to do this, but if we take the last two cycles as kind of statistical data, then we can assume that we're actually very far away from the possible top. And so, for example, you can assume how many days did we wait from the halving to reach the top. So we had the halving in 2012, the first one, 25 of November, and then we reached the top in 4 December 2013, so kinda 1 year. The second halving, we had it in July 2016, and we reached the top in December 2017, so a kind of year and a half. And we had the halving, as we said, May 2020. So if we assume like a kind of that this kind of topping is increasing over time by half a year, we can assume that the next stop will be probably in May 2022. So it means that we are gonna have to wait until more than this chart actually can show to see the very top of this bull run. So it means that this bull market could be the longest that we had so far in Bitcoin, and we could reach like according to we don't have like a way to see the top on this chart, but we can assume that this year will be very bullish for Bitcoin until May of 2022. Of course, if you assume that this is very statistical data that it can be reproduced over time. Now, why do I think that Bitcoin will double in the next few months? So it's not because of this chart, but we have to go to the TradingView chart of Bitcoin. So at the moment we're at 40,000. And first of all, I would like to say we kind of got a bull trend since yesterday. And many probably are thinking, why did we start to run right now? It is because if we look at the chart of DXY, DXY is basically the dollar currency index. So it's basically the value of the dollar against all other currencies. And we had in kind of... so to read this chart, the more this value goes up, the more the dollar is valuable. The more this value goes down, the less the dollar is valuable. So we had a kind of reverse trend since January, actually when we reached the top of Bitcoin, in which the dollar started to gain value again. And this actually is what gave pressure to the dollar. And we can see here, disappear. We can see here that exactly like 8th of January, and here the dollar kinda similar range. We reached the bottom of the dollar at 6th of January. So this was the moment in which the dollar was the less valuable, 89. And the 6th of January we were here, and a couple of days later we reached the top. And this was the top of Bitcoin so far. After that, the dollar started to lose value, started to increase in value against other currencies, and we reached a current top yesterday, 5 of February. And Bitcoin, as the opposite, did the opposite. While the dollar was increasing in value, Bitcoin was decreasing in value. And we kinda saw a kind of a reversal of the trend a bit earlier, like around 2 of February, but yesterday, 5 of February, Bitcoin skyrocketed from 37,000 till 40,000 right now. Why? It's because the dollar lost lots of value yesterday on the news that Biden was releasing the new stimulus plan. And of course, it didn't lose it yet. This money is not yet circulating in the US, but the fear that this money will go out and increase inflation for the dollar made a lot of people that own dollar scared and pushed them on selling the dollar for other currencies, or for other assets. But the point is that some of this dollar went on Bitcoin, and that's why the price, as you can see here, skyrocketed. We can look also the range, the price range from bottom here. Currently we are at 7%, and if you look at DXY from yesterday, it lost 0.66%. That kind of course, like we have to look at relative data. So like when we lose 1% here, it's kind of losing 10% of the price of an asset. So it's kind of very correlated, and it shows that at the moment there is fear that the dollar could lose valuation against other currency. So people are pouring their dollars into Bitcoin. Now, this is the reason why we see this current spike and why we are at 40,000. For Bitcoin to be really bullish, it actually has to break the previous high. And then we can consider that we are not at the top, and it could confirm again what we see in this chart, that we are just at the first tip of a bigger trend that will continue for the next year. But why I think that Bitcoin will double, to do that, we have to go to the weekly chart, and we have to look at what happened in the previous cycle. So let's take the previous chart and what happened. Let's see what happened in the previous cycle. So this is the previous cycle of Bitcoin from the halving of 2016 till the top of December 2017. So follow me on this. We reached a first top on June 2017 of $2,900. Then we bottomed to 1,800, and then we ran again until 5,000. So from top to top, there was like a kind of almost a double in price range. Then from 5,000 we went down to 3,000, and we'd run up again until 8,000 almost. So from 5,000 to 8,000 there is a kind of another 80% gain, almost top. And then from 8,000 we bottomed till 5,800, then we ran until almost 20k, and this is also another 2.5x basically. So as you can see, every time we reach a top, and this is, remember, is a weekly, every time we reach a top and then we bottom and we have a 30%, 40% correction, which we had this time on Bitcoin. Like, it's difficult to see on the weekly, but we had this kind of correction, because if we look here, and take again the price range from the top till the bottom here, we had a 31% correction. So we had our bull run correction. We didn't touch the 21 EMA, but we had our correction. Bitcoin, every time it tops and then bottoms, then in the next cycle, in the next bull cycle, it doubles. So from 42,000, I believe that Bitcoin can reach at least 80k in the next 2 months. Why in the next 2 months? To say that, we need to go back to the previous chart. We had a top here, 5 of June. The next top we had it at 28th of August, around 2 months later. 28th of August, the next stop we had it at 6th of November, kind of 2 to 3 months later. 6th of November, the next stop we had it in December, so kind of now a month later. So there is not, like, of course, a clear pattern here, but there are similarities that we can add together, and they give us kind of an idea of what could happen. And at the moment it's very realistic, since we kind of are we have all the kind of hint that tell us that this could happen, because we have the stock to flow model, which is currently still very dark green. We are just halfway of the stop of the process, and we know that the top can always pass the stock to flow model by a lot if we want. We have DXY devaluing, we have the dollar losing value, we have the stimulus plan of Biden rolling out for Americans that will bring billions of dollars that can, but just a part of it can be added on Bitcoin. And we have the fact that we are still in a bull trend, considering what's happening also with altcoins. So all these combined together can tell us that we are definitely, this was not the top, that we are still trending up, and that we can, in the next 2 months from February till, I would say, beginning of April, we can reach 80k Bitcoin with kind of, this is not financial advice, it's not sure it's gonna happen, but there is a kind of a good probability that this could happen. So I hope, guys, you enjoyed the video. Leave please a thumbs up and consider to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video then, and invest safe.